So I thought today that we would talk a little bit about some sus harmony. And sus harmony means basically that you are removing the third from the equation. So if you have a major chord, for example, so this is going to be a chord. Again, it's a baritone guitar, so it's tuned down. So real time, real pitch, whatever, this is A, alright? So sus is short for suspended, so we would be saying a sus4 replaces the 4 replaces the 3, okay? So in the key of A, it's going to be, that's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the scale, 2, 3, 4. Replaces the third, 4 replacing the 3, alright? Now I tend to add a 7th to it, and most commonly when, at least when you start studying sus harmony, you're going to use a flatted 7th, so in this key it's going to be the G. So that gives you this sound. Really common in more modern types of classical music and jazz. It definitely brought to the forefront of people's attention in the 60s with John Coltrane, McCoy Tyner, Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, players like that. It's pretty much all over the place in those kinds of music. And I like to take it and apply that sound to pretty much everything else. So like, you know, I keep saying with Stumptail Dolly, even though it is technically a mixture of metal and country, it's pretty much undergirded by all this whacked out jazz stuff. So a song on our record called Americanoclasm that features this sound is called The Marish Prophet, and the chorus riff is based entirely out of an A7 sus chord, but it's broken down into basically a melody, but it's strictly those same 4 notes. So it's A, D, E, and G. So the riff is 1, 2, ready, go. And another thing that riff is cool for is just because it gets you going across the entire guitar. So you're going from literally your lowest note and highest, for me anyway, on this guitar, which is something that I like to try to use the whole guitar. Not necessarily in every solo or every song, but just, you know, every note on the neck has its own sound, and it's really cool to find ways to use them all. But anyhow, this thing, 1, 4, 5, flat 7. That's it. That's a sus chord in a nutshell. And all the riff is just playing around with the notes, putting them in different orders, different ranges, different octaves. All right. Also, that's a pretty big gap up there on the top. Stretching the whole fourth between your first finger and your pinky. That's something that I started doing after checking out a little bit of Alan Holdsworth, who is completely insane and amazing, and I highly recommend him for anyone that's interested in this sort of playing. Even though he's definitely coming out of a jazz context pretty much exclusively, I've tried to lift a little bit of some of his work and apply it to my own thing. So once again, you've got McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane, Herbie Hancock. These are people who just use this sound extensively. It's everywhere. It's all over everything they do. Chick Corea, and then from there on, all the way up into the current New York players. And there, at this point in time, you can frequently find sus chords that have major sevenths in them instead of the dominant seven, which will give you a totally different sound, and you hear it a lot. That would be something more like this, where you have root, fourth, fifth, and major seventh instead of the flat seven. You have the major. So across the neck, it would be. Just adding some what they call pedal steel bends here in Nashville, or cheat and steel, or whatever. You try to imitate some of that sound. It's a pretty unique sound, and not something that you hear a whole lot. So you can look for it on the next record, because I'm sure now that I've talked about it, I'm going to have to record it somewhere, because that's how I am. In any case, the whole thing, like I'm saying over and over again, is about finding new sounds, new things to play, not falling into the same traps of sounding like every other musician, whether you're a guitar player or not, whatever, I don't care, it doesn't matter. That's why this is called an instrument, because it's an instrument to carry out the ideas of the mind of the person playing it. It's not the be-all, end-all. The guitar doesn't determine the theory. The guitar doesn't determine the sound. It doesn't determine pretty much jack shit. It is the vehicle for your mind, for your ideas, for your expression to come out. And the more tools that you have in your arsenal, the more weapons in your arsenal, the better off you'll be. For any style, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be jazz just because it's jazz. Like, obviously, like Stumptail Dolly is not a fucking jazz band, and we don't sound like one, but the influence is there, and I think it's pretty obvious too, and it's not by accident. So anyway, that's the topic for today, sus chords. One more time, here's the little lick from The Marriage Prophet. Here's your sus7s. Go shed them. Thanks.